Good day to everybody, and welcome to the Future of Urban Agriculture Education and Science session. Today at the Democracy Festival LAMPA. Today's session is part of a bigger project that is funded by Nordic Council of Ministers, run together with Nordregio. And this project focuses on the future of urban agriculture. Besides this knowledge and experience sharing, we will also produce case studies. What are the new and interesting cases of urban agriculture in Nordic and Baltic region? The first panelist will switch on online remotely. And let me just quickly introduce. Trine is currently leading the National Center for Urban Agriculture at the Norwegian University of Life Sciences and is a member of the Norwegian Biotechnology Advisory Board.
I'm going to talk about implementing circular urban agriculture in a Master of Science program at our university, the Norwegian University of Life Sciences in Ås in Norway. And I would like you to think about what implications this can have for a near zero emission society in the future. In the European project, we had a sustainable city vision where we looked at all the resources in the city in a circular way. Instead of polluting air, water, and nature, we would like to reuse all resources. This is a way of picturing it with the flats, with the vacuum toilets, and where the black water goes into a biogas reactor, where we can use this for nutrients or growth media. And we produce biogas, which can produce electricity or heat or CO2. And then we can grow food and feed the food back to the inhabitants of the flats. And that's how we can get recycling. This has been shown in the Campus Ås campsite. And here we have 48 students with vacuum toilets. And the biogas reactor is in here. We have a bubble greenhouse where we grow, here you see we grow tomatoes, and the bubbles insulate the greenhouse from the cold and the heat in the summer. And we grow tomatoes, lettuce, and cucumbers in various composts to have an alternative to peat. This is peat, and these are alternatives. And we also do nutrient experiments from the black water. We know that plants improve the physical and psychological well-being, and it contributes to improved public health because of food and activity. It reduces noise, dust, and reduces temperature of inner cities. And it improves the biodiversity in urban areas. The structure and organization of this master program is quite new. It's all of the 7 faculties and NMU share this master program. Students aren't given exercises just to do an exercise. They are given assignments with real-life cases. How can a municipality use urban agriculture to reach their ambitions and set goals in relation to social sustainability and biodiversity? And this group decided to focus on an area called Hebek as a case. And what they came up with was that this area here is called Hebek. They could have a school garden in one end because there's a school here. And then in the middle, they could have a community garden. And here they could have a food forest and the recreation area and the playground.
Thank you so much, Trine. I think it's the first in the world, the Urban Agriculture Master Program, or at least that transdisciplinary. And you also nicely sketched how the work with municipality happens. So it's very logical that our next keynote speaker is Donatella. Donatella is a project manager working in the field of sustainability, circular water solutions and food systems. And she has been working at the Water Center for Innovation Campus Roslagen since 2017.
Let me start with a question. If you think of the future, so if you think of 2050, how do you think we are going to grow our food? This is one of the questions that we are asking ourselves at Campus Roslagen. Campus is a municipal company in Norrtälje. We are there in the northern part of the Stockholm County. It is the innovation hub of our municipality. The food sector has to face important environmental and social challenges. We know that the world population is going to be about 9 billion people by 2050. 70% of which will live in cities. We are already seeing nowadays that agriculture is a sector that is particularly affected by climate change. And also in the latest years, the recent events such as the pandemics first and then the war have exposed the need for more self-sufficient food systems. We are trying to give our small contribution to face these challenges by participating in innovation projects that are both national and international European funded projects. A method regarding urban agriculture that we are working with is aquaponics, and this is a method that can supplement traditional agriculture. Aquaponics is the combination of aquaculture, that means farming aquatic animals, and hydroponics, which means growing plants in water. This is a circular system, so with no emissions into the environment. And in this system, the fish and the plants are grown in symbiosis. And actually, the symbiosis is among fish, plants, and bacteria. So in this system, the wastewater from the fish becomes nutrients from the plants. The plants continue cleaning the water, and then the clean water goes back to the fish in a circular manner. And also in this system, there is no use of antibiotics nor pesticides, because it's not possible to use them. So the produce of aquaponics are completely healthy.
Let's listen to Latvian experience, to Liga. Liga has 30 years of experience in the horticultural research, and in addition to the research on vegetable cultivation technologies, Liga is also responsible for horticultural genetic resources.
I'm going to tell you shortly about the history, probably, and background of Latvians in horticulture. Horticulture or gardening is part of Latvian lifestyle. Latvians actually are spoiled with different kind of crops which we are growing for centuries, not only by the kind of crops but also by varieties. It means that we are very demanding on good taste or other qualities, so not always we are happy with the kind of vegetables which we can buy in supermarkets. It means that almost each family has garden in countryside to grow vegetables, and grandmother or mother is growing vegetables. We are consuming a lot homegrown vegetables. But what to do if you are moving to city? Latvians are moving together with their knowledge, which is already in the DNA of each Latvian. Also, communication between the gardeners is taking place in different groups. Also in Facebook, we have several groups discussing on gardening. This is also transferring knowledge from generations. People are more and more facing to circular economy. We as a scientists, we see the hydroponic and vertical farming and warehouse indoor farms as a future for Latvian horticulture. We are now at the stage when we are implementing the first urban project in Latvia, where we are investigating the influence of different substrates on the quality of vegetables. One of myth that in the city you cannot grow enough high quality vegetables. So we are going to test chemical composition of vegetables similarly grown in countryside and in Riga. So we hope that we will prove that they are healthy and good for health.
Thank you so much, Liga, for sketching Latvian DNA. Now let me give floor to Kiosti, who works as a special advisor at Nordforsk, a cooperation platform for Nordic and Baltic research councils. And Kiosti handles research programs.
I started to think about what on earth there is a common in those two themes. And I start with almost like an anecdote, but it's not an anecdote. It's this 29,086 measures barley, 37 months Kushim. And that's a lot. That's actually the first known text in this world. And it's coming from the oldest city in the world, Uruk, indicating that, first of all, agriculture is a necessary condition for the urban settlements. And also that agriculture brought about skills to write and skills to account. In very recent years, we have experienced crises, very severe crises, which have really changed our world and how we think about it. One concrete example is how we get food and what are the supply chains, how sensitive they are. And here comes the question how to secure the food supply. We need more circular economy so that the resources we are using, we are reusing them more and not just bringing in them. Old and new methods should be taken into account and considered. And here comes my expertise in play, how to consider them systematically. And answer is, of course, the scientific research. There are open questions like how much we can produce, what is the kind of realistic share of our daily food intake which we can produce in the urban environment. Green environments are not only source for food, but they are multifunctional servants of ecosystem. They provide better air quality, increase biodiversity. They are used in the water protection and noise management. Then we need somebody who knows about the health and how much population health can be improved using the green elements in the city. And inclusiveness, how we can get all citizens of the city join these urban agriculture enterprises. The last thing we don't talk enough, I think it's a self-esteem. To work with the plants, it's like a tree hugging, but it's at smaller scale. Cities with different histories have different possibilities to use urban agriculture. Latitude, of course. Here in Latvia, you can produce much more than in Finland. If you have a rainy Norway, then the productivity is higher than in Finland, where the less rain. And size of the city is important. A metropole has a much less possibilities than the small-sized cities. First of all, we need somebody who understands urban and regional planning. We should also think about who is responsible for governing urban agriculture.
Is this the knowledge that we lack and research, or this is the capacity to collaborate?
I think it's important to bring together different type of actors, so from the academia, from the entrepreneur world, municipality, and continue with this dialogue, continue with these partnerships, and we can learn together and we can find together new solutions.
Unless we have partnerships, we cannot solve the wicked problems that are too complex for one discipline alone. So I think the interdisciplinarity and the interactions between the research and educators with private and public enterprises is really important.
How can interdisciplinary collaboration bridge the gap between this theoretical education and practical implementation?
We should also remember that we should somehow be able to scale our solutions. Sometimes we need a big scale. If we are in the metropoles, we need a lots of units and a bit different type of system. Then we have small municipalities here in the middle of the countryside. There the solutions are maybe a bit different.
How can we ensure equitable access to this education and ability to work in the garden? How can it be created for everybody?
We have a lot of different courses and lectures which people can attend. Also, we have education, garden, horticultural education, quite well developed in Latvia. So if somebody wants to get the knowledge, it's possible.
Do you experience that people are skeptical to food grown in cities because they think that it's polluted? We need not only shorter supply chains, but also shorter communication chains in a way to grow this trust and fight those myths that are out there. Should the urban agriculture, in whatever premises they have, should it be mandatory? So, for example, if you sell food, but instead, if you can actually grow that food, like these green leaves, salad, let's say strawberries, then you must actually try growing before you just are selling. So should there be such kind of new regulation?
Maybe the first thing is to map the regulations. What we have learned that different countries have a different type of regulations. Even the cities itself, maybe there are differences between the cities, and then map what is actually possible. Maybe only after that, then we can say, okay, if there are regulations, how we can change them so that it makes possible or it supports urban agriculture.
So maybe a new index, urban agriculture city index, that would probably map the regulation or the opportunities. You are the experts who could make this index, actually.
Helping the urban farmer to find their way through the regulation jungle is possibly a very important thing.
In Sweden, we have a strategy. The aim is to make the country more self-sufficient, and it has three main pillars, which are regulation, then innovation, and then education. Also considering what we heard yesterday and saw yesterday, I mean, why not having this urban gardening, which are also places that bring people together, bring also ideas and innovation together. So we can see the urban gardening maybe it's not really at the front end if we think of food security, but it's a way to reach it.
Urban agriculture is not only the hobby grower. It's certainly also the professional growers. The biggest greenhouse on the rooftop is in Montreal in Canada, and it's 15,000 square meters. So urban farming on a large scale is really contributing to the food supply. And I think it will increase to do so in the future, as mentioned, because we will be more people on the planet.
Just an idea that as we have, at least in Finland and Norway, city planning rule that each neighborhood should have a kind of minimum percentage of the green area. So why don't include that, okay, minimum percentage of green area of which certain share is allocated to urban agriculture.
What about indoor vertical farming? Is that something that seems to work? And we actually had really great webinar yesterday, and will be also published online, so you will be able to follow. It seems to be working, so it's not just rooftops, it's also staircases.
The next step could be to produce more caloric food in indoor systems.
So that we can grow salad, that's great, but how can we grow more calorie-rich and more dense food?
Actually, it's very easy. You can grow runner beans, so they will provide you with protein. It's very easy, just you have to look for proper crops, and it's possible.
What should be done today, in a month, in a year, to get this urban agriculture into the future that we want to see?
Establish a research program which is really transdisciplinary, that all the actors are together from the very beginning, outlining the proposals and making plans how to implement it.
It should be included in strategies of cities, towns. I think also it should be included in the programs, educational programs in kindergartens and in schools, because it will give understanding for kids where from comes the food. And of course we have to continue research on proper technologies.
We continue mapping the unused resources that are in cities. Yesterday we spoke a lot about space and the competition for space, but there are lots of resources that can be better exploited, such as waste heat or other types of waste in order to implement circular economy and can go into urban farming.
We should engage municipalities, regional authorities and private companies on acting upon the Sustainable Development Goals, where urban agriculture can make a substantial contribution to almost all of them, and particularly partnerships to reach the goals. And I think that by educating the young, we enable an army of entrepreneurs who have a holistic viewpoint and an ability to act upon wicked problems for a more sustainable future.
With this, I would like to thank all of you for participation. Please follow our Future of Urban Agriculture project. There will be more information about that at the Nordic Council of Ministers office in Latvia homepage, and there is already, you can find in the Nordregio's homepage. And we hope to keep you updated how the things are going. So have a good festival, and thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you.